Hello.
Hello.
Happy holidays. We're coming from a different camera angle today.
This angle just makes us look, fabulous.
Yeah, I like it. So notice the product placement. I just want to point out the product placement of the fabulous Elite team with Keller Williams.
Woohoo!
And I'm really excited. It's so fun. It's holidays, and I know I'll edit some of this out for later, but I love to do these interviews live because there's so much more energy when you're live. And so I'm really happy to have you as my guest today.
I'm very grateful and thankful to be here. Not only a first time, a second time.
Second time.
What an honor.
When you think about it, so by the way, my guest today is the amazing Julie Galarraga, who's incredible. So honored to be in business with you in life and as a friend and as a business wonderful entrepreneur. I started these lives 3 years ago in January. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And like Victor and you were like some of my first guests ever.
Incredible,
right? And then about 7 months later, I turned this into my podcast, which is the second half, which is all about, you went, yeah, there you go. I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
It really matters the first half of what you do in anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's that second half that really matters. And you think about any kind of like football game or any kind of sports that you like, that first half really matters. But how many times do you see a game where like halftime, they come back and the team that was like 30 points behind them comes back and wins the game?
I love those games. Those
are
games
the best.
keep me on my toes, and I'm like, that's what we live for.
And
those
things, and that's what life is all about. And I feel like so the second half was born because it's the second half of this live interview that we do right now, right? But it's also how are you showing up in life, right? And are you thinking that like you never really arrive? That's the interesting thing about life.
Yes, actually, you came to me one of the times that I was going through a hard time, and you're like, hey Julie, there's this coach quote. I wish you would have had it, but it was a quote that you quoted that you don't ever arrive. You keep evolving, and you keep going into your best version. And when you think or might be like, you gotta keep going and keep going.
Right? It's like, we talk about this a lot in 6 Personal Perspectives and Bold and all the things where we talk about moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful, and how your whole life you have these ceilings of achievement that you hit.
Yeah.
And that's when you start feeling funky and off, and you're like, okay, something doesn't feel right here, right? And you're about to break through. And when you break through whatever is holding you back, that becomes your new floor.
It does. And then you're in that floor and you're like, okay, where do we go from here?
Exactly.
Then you gotta do another breakthrough.
So that's why your whole life is that. And the more you can recognize that and live consciously and know that my whole life I'm moving from E to P. I'm moving from E to P. Mm-hmm. So when you start feeling uncomfortable. And so and I'm starting with that because, girlfriend, you have been doing a lot of E to P.
Yes.
A lot of E to P. Okay, so I want to share, Julie's story is inspiring, and I get to watch it front row center VIP seats in your life right now, which I love so much. I love that we get to work together, and you know how we feel about each other. Yes. So I want to talk about Julie's story. The whole point of why I do this show is to inspire people to live better life, to live their best life, because everyone has greatness within them, and sometimes they forget.
Yeah.
I know I have, and I know you have.
I have, yeah.
So let's back it up and let's talk about let's back it up and let's talk about Julie. Like, tell us who you are. Tell us your background. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Just tell us a little of your story.
So I am the youngest of 3, and my dad, from a very young age, installed the seed. I want to say planted the seed of entrepreneurship. And I remember being 5, 6 years old with my sister and my cousin. She also works in the Dream Team.
Yes.
Going around and selling stuff. Like, we would sell toilet paper, we would sell pictures, we would sell all sorts of things.
Okay.
My dad always inspired us to be like, hey, you don't wait for things to happen, you make things happen.
Yeah.
So at a very young age, 6 years old, I started working. And I didn't realize how that would change the trajectory of my life.
Wow.
Because ever since, moving from Venezuela to the U.S.
Because you were born in Venezuela.
Well, I was actually born in Austin.
Oh, you were born in Austin?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And my parents took me to Venezuela when I was 2.
Because they're Venezuelan.
Yes. when I was 9.
What were you doing at 6 though? What were you working? If you started
door knocking,
okay, selling stuff.
Selling stuff, pictures. I mean, it didn't matter. I would sell anything. And I would go buy candy and sell it out in the street
for a
and
profit.
things like that. Yeah. So I started making money at a very young age.
Very smart.
The only thing is my dad explained to me, you got to make money, have money working for you, but he didn't go into details about like make sure that money you make, you reinvest it.
That's right. And let the money work for you, right? It's money. There we go. Okay, and we're back. Okay, and we thank you for the listeners that have stayed with us. Okay, I see.
Yes.
Silly. Okay, so back to that. So keep going.
So my dad, like, reinvesting the money is essential. But I missed that little part when I was 6, 7 years old. But the knowledge of like, hey, don't be afraid, talk to people, make connections. That was my dad made sure that seed was planted at a very young age. So when we moved to the United States, I was like, homegirl's gotta make money. So
how old were you when you moved back to Austin?
9. I was 9.
Okay. All right.
I was 9. I didn't speak any English.
Oh wow.
And I was like, how the heck am I supposed to sell these?
Door to door is a little harder in another country.
Oh yes, it is. I was supposed to sell toys, and I mean, you did these fundraisers at school. I was in choir, so I would do all these fundraisers, but I was like, I wanted to win. But not having the language was a little bit of a hurdle.
For sure.
But, even through those times, I was like, how can I make money? I remember I would collect soda cans, because before you could sell them. And then I would buy candies at Sam's and sell them in school. I got in trouble a couple of times. But hey, that's the entrepreneur in me. I was like, let's make money.
Let's go. I love it.
So throughout those ages, I would say throughout those times, I definitely learn a lot about selling and growing and facing my fear of feeling uncomfortable. So throughout the years, graduated from high school, Austin High, woohoo, Maroon for life. But anyways, I went to high school and I started in my brother's business. We did cell phones. It was a family business.
Okay.
Before that, my dad had cancer. We almost lost everything. From losing everything, not having food in your pantry, to like starting a business. I think God was just planning this perfect path for us. So we started my brother started a cell phone company, and I worked there, and I remember getting paid $1,000 a month, and I was like, oh my God, this is the most I've ever gotten paid.
So much money. Yeah, think about that, because everything's a perspective of where you're at that time in your life, right?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of money for you at the time.
Yes, and I remember going through going back a little bit, my family was like, hey, we were into real estate. I bought my first property when I was 24. And my dad again was like, hey, buy things that make money while you sleep. Real estate is one of them, one vehicle out of many. But I started doing that at a young age. And Victor Nino, which was our agent. He was our agent. He was our agent. And let me tell you, I took notes.
Yeah.
I took very many notes on like how I could start my process and how I could help others buy homes. But at the time, I was just more focused on helping them get approved through a lender, and then be like, hey, Victor, can you help them? So Victor was definitely amazing.
I love that. And he'll be on in a couple of episodes too.
Woohoo! Yeah. I love it. So definitely he poured into my growth.
So you got to see it firsthand.
Oh
right?
yeah,
What
as
that
a
looked
client,
like.
yes,
Okay.
definitely got to see it firsthand. And as I decided to get my license, it took me a long time to get my license. I was helping people get homes before I even had my license, but I wasn't being a realtor. I was just more encouraging them.
Yeah. Okay.
But
because you knew the benefit of purchasing a home and owning an asset instead of renting, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got the house. I learned from Nino, got my license, and I made it to KW. After, I remember going to the Southwest Market Center, and I was like, hey, Victor, I don't think I'm going to join Keller Williams. And he's like, no, you got to go to the Northwest Market Center. I had actually talked to other brokers.
Yeah.
But I would say there was something magical about the Northwest Market Center.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I have actually heard this from different agents too. They're like, no, Julie, there's just something different in the Northwest Market Center. So, if you've talked to KW and you haven't been to the Northwest Market Center, come to the Northwest Market Center.
Yeah, and before you make your decision to not go to KW, come talk to us.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you for that plug.
Yeah, you guys will love it. anyway, so Victor encouraged me to come and talk to the Northwest Market Center, and I signed up. But going back to getting paid $1,000 a month, and I thought it was a lot. I remember the Ignite, which if you're a new agent and you have not taken Ignite, you should. And if you're an agent that went from another broker to came to KW, you should take Ignite.
It's like our base of training of just everything about selling real estate. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Foundational training.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember taking Ignite, and the coach at the time was like, okay, put how much money you want to make in a year. Like, I can't help but laugh because I was like, oh, let me make $80,000. $80,000 is a lot of money. Oh my
Did that
God,
scare you, that number at the time?
Oh, that scared me. Actually, the coach came and she's like, 80,000? I was like, yeah. And she's like, no. We changed it to 150,000 at that time. And I was like scared as bazooka.
Yeah.
Just so I won't say anything. But I would say what you see, what you wrote, that whole experience really transcended to being reality.
Yeah. It makes it real when you write it down, right? When you commit to a goal and you write it down, it makes it real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the chances of achieving it are so much higher.
Definitely higher. And I would say I'm so grateful for those experiences. It was Susan Joyner.
Susan's amazing.
Yeah, she is. But I remember just writing that number, and now to me it's more like, okay, I focus a lot on numbers of transactions rather than the money, but ideally you do want to do both, the money and the transactions.
They go hand in hand.
Exactly.
But you're focused more on how many families you can help, right?
To me, that's the bigger goal.
Yeah.
Like how many people get to call their like a place home, and not only that, like sometimes one of our major focuses is create financial wealth for every client of ours.
I love that.
So creating them 3, 4, 5, 6 properties, which actually I have 10% that are about 3 to 4 houses of our clients.
Very cool.
So
I love that.
The focus is how can you get money to work for you? And I just think it's lack of education and information. But once you provide that, then people have that security. And not only that, I've done it myself. So it's not like I'm walking you through an idea. Now I'm walking you through facts.
Because you've lived it, right? Because you've lived it. And that gives you a different kind of validity when you have been the investor and done the things, right? I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
You know, I am curious though, how did that first year turn out for you?
So I think I did like 20 transactions that year. I did do 150,000.
So you hit the goal.
I did, but it's kind of like you don't realize like the power of you creating your own reality. Like if that other person, which I'm really big about coaches, if that Susan Joyner wouldn't have stopped by and be like 80,000
challenged you
exactly, I would have probably felt comfortable. So if you have someone,
you would have done 80,000 probably.
Oh, probably,
right?
And then I would have stayed
and
would have been like okay with that. Now to me is the millions. So it's like 1.5 million, 3 millions, 5 million. So that's
because you're always growing. You're always moving from E to P. Like, what's next? How can I get bigger?
Exactly.
And you only get bigger with other people and systems, right? Yes. That's one of the things of how you break through. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you have a team. Tell us about your team and what that looks like.
You know what? I love that you interviewed me. Was it 2 years ago?
In the team meeting?
No, well, we've done a team meeting. You've interviewed me at a team meeting, but you've also interviewed me for
this live.
Yeah,
that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Wow.
Almost 3. It'll be 3 years ago because it was right as we were leading up to Red Day. Remember? Because it was all about the kids that we were doing. So it was about it was similar, like a couple months, but 3 years ago almost.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy. But what I want to say about that is like, life changes in matters of seconds, minutes. And you're here today, you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow. You might have a beautiful hand one day and then you have a crooked finger the next day. Life changes constantly. It's just about how you bounce back up. And I reminiscing on the moments of like, we had a 30 people team with amazing agents, and we created a workspace where we all love to be around each other and grow and learning. But things evolve. And so we went from 30 to 10 and then from 8. And then it's like, okay, like life changes, and the people that are around you really do matter. I believe that the people around you can either help you up or they can keep you down. So sometimes understanding really the clarity within you, like, okay, you know what is it that I want? What lives do I want to touch? And then God and the universe aligns the right people at the right times. So right now the team has changed. There's plenty of new faces, and you know what, the new faces bring new energy, and it's completely different. It's
So
I enjoy every stage of being a huge team. To me, was huge.
It was pretty big.
To like, okay, guys, we can't fit in this training room anymore.
Yeah.
To where like, oh no, let's do the trainings in our office because we can fit this time around.
Yeah.
And right now we're about 5 agents, counting myself as 6. I remember meeting Wendy Papasan because you arranged that. Thank you. And she's like, Julie, I went from having a mega team to having 1 agent and myself, and like hearing her story before it even happened to me.
Yeah.
That to me is crazy.
Yeah,
like, so when she starts telling me, Julie, it's about quality, not quantity, you know, I started realizing it's do the right thing, get the right people in your side. And I do believe that your personal life and your business life kind of go hand in hand. So again, making the right choices. And sometimes life provides you lessons. And you're like, oh my God, I was not expecting this lesson.
Yes, it does. It will always remind you that you aren't in control of all that, right? Yeah. But and yet you're a different leader today than you were then. And that's what Wendy said too, is Wendy grew from that, and you've grown so much from that.
I have. Actually,
you're a different leader today.
I definitely am. Yeah. I'm actually more on the process of like, you know what, I want this, I want that, or this is how we're going to grow together. If you don't like it, you can go. If you like it, great. Trusting more of my instinct. And sometimes we question our own instincts. And it's like your instinct is never wrong.
That's right. Gotta listen to it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only listen to it, it will guide you to where you need to be. So,
and yet your little team is still going to it has already done over $1 million GCI.
Oh, yes. But not only that, I want to say this December definitely is going to be a really nice big December for us. But even when you think, and I want to share this, even when you think, oh, well, we're half of December, we can't close other 2-3 transactions in December. Yes, you can. Though, like the limits that we put on ourselves, like we're like, no, it can't, it's going to go to January.
Yeah.
No, you can make, God in the universe works in mysterious ways. You have cash buyers, you have lenders that can close in 15 days.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, well, let's get this ball rolling.
Yeah.
So definitely a blessing to have the clients that we have and the team that we have. So
and I think though that all comes down to like what lessons are you taking away from it though too, right? Because you could fail, and some people might call it failing. I call it, life's changing. Life changes the game on you, right? And so you have to keep adapting, and you have to keep growing yourself through it all, right? You have to keep growing, and that's what you've done so beautifully. And actually, I look at you, and you're a different person today. You're still Julie, this amazing light of energy that you can tell. You can just feel when Julie's in the building anywhere that you go. You can, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But it's more of a focused energy, and so it's like the. When you shine your light everywhere, maybe it's not as strong, but when you get clarity and you get focus like you've gotten, it actually shines brighter, and it shines more purposeful.
And you know what? I believe big that God puts the right people in our paths. And I would remember getting here early or leaving late and seeing you and your beautiful smile, and not only your smile, your support and your love.
Oh, you're very kind.
It's people like you that sometimes you don't know what you do, but you do a lot.
Oh,
So thank you for
well,
that.
thank you, sweetie. You're so sweet. Well, I love this lady. So, and I've seen you completely transform. I remember, I want to talk about some of the breakthroughs because some of you maybe are struggling, and here you are. You keep, no matter what's thrown at you, no matter what happens, you just keep getting back up. And you've had a lot of transformation in your life, and I've watched that. And I remember being in the bold room with you a long time ago. I mean, I don't even know how many years ago it was.
Oh, I want to say like 4 to 5 years. I don't think it has hit the 5-year mark.
Okay, I can't believe that. It seems longer to me. But I remember you standing in there and you just broke down because your quality of life was so terrible. And you were missing out on your kids. And you're like, I just want to be home. Like, I just don't even get to tuck them into bed. I come home and they're already sleeping. Like, I never see my kids. You know, the marriage wasn't where it should be, all the things. And it's like, you really broke through all that.
You do. And you find what works for you. And the other days I put a post on regards to kids won't, well, not kids, it said, well, it was about kids, but they will not remember the things you give them,
Yes.
like monetarily.
Right.
They will only take the life lessons you provide to them. And it's behind the closed doors that people, because easily when you're a single woman entrepreneur and you're going at it and you're just like focused, you are targeted by many, probably saying, oh, she's not a good mom, or whatever voices are out there,
labels or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Though what matters the most is what happened in the 4 walls of your house or wherever you are with your kids, with the people that mean the most to you.
And people are watching.
Exactly. And when your kids are doing the right things, when you're not there and they're taking it upon themselves, and I want to share this because my son, he had a $50 bill. He could have bought anything for himself. It's like, hey, mommy, I decided to take my friends and his parents out to eat to show gratitude and be grateful, because sometimes they feed me and sometimes I spend time in their house. Aww. That came from him, from his heart.
Yeah.
So, like, I know for a fact that if I was to leave this earth, I have planted the seeds of gratitude, love, and kindness to my kids' heart. And that's what matters.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
That's legacy. That then you're doing, then you know, but see, that's a different story today than I think you would have told me in that bold room.
Yes.
Right? I don't think you would have said that. So, but all the work you've done to get to this point today is, you know, a lot of people maybe would have quit, you know, given up, all the things. And instead you come out of everything smarter, more confident, with more clarity, with more purpose, and you shine brighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But that's a choice, Julie. That's a choice that you make every single day.
It is a choice. We choose who we want to be.
That's right.
And gratitude is definitely a big one for me. But I've learned that through you, through Bold, through amazing people in my life. So I'm very grateful for that.
What a gift! What a gift that is, that we all live that way. Okay, so let's back up to the question that I ask every guest on the show. Is what you're like? I know I need like
let me get some water.
Yeah, get drink. Let's drink from this beautiful cup. For those of you who are just listening to the podcast, she has in a really beautiful. Everything about Julie's team is orange. Before I ask that question, let's talk about that. What made you pick that? Because I love the story about that. Why is everything you do bright orange?
Because at one point of my life, I was going through a very hard depression, and I had this pair of shoes. They were orange, pink, and purple, very bright orange. But I remember putting those shoes on every day, even when I didn't want to. And it gave me the energy, it gave me the purpose, it gave me the light. When everything was dark, I could always count on those shoes to light my path.
Wow.
So it all tied in, and actually it tied in the real estate. And I do believe God was the one that was like, the color is orange. This is the slogan. This is like, he put everything in there for us. I cannot take credit of the team's name or the color, but I will say the color is a significance of being able to come out of the darkness into the light. And I couldn't just do it with the regular, like it had to be a bright orange.
Yeah.
So.
And not just come out of the dark, but come out like bright colored. I mean, for those of you listening on the podcast, you can't see, but even her fingernails are like bright orange. If you're watching, you can see what I mean. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question I ask all my guests is, what does playing to win look like for you?
Playing to win look like for me?
Yeah.
You know what? That's a very great question. And to me, playing to win is planting seeds of hope and opportunities in everyone's life. Whoever I come across, whether that's a family, an agent, my family, my kids, like planting seeds of hope and opportunity. That's what playing to win means to me. Like, okay, did I plant seeds of hope and opportunity in every person I met today? So when I accomplish that, which is on a daily basis, what I look forward to doing, I feel one step closer to accomplishing my playing to win. And to me, it's touching many lives.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you know what? I didn't hear anything in there about like money or winning, right? And you live that. You really live that every day, is like touching people's lives and inspiring. And a lot of people actually that have been on your team have gone on to be really inspiring young people that learned that from you. How does that feel?
Oh, that's definitely part of my mission.
Like,
Oh,
yeah.
it does.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It does. And at the end of the day, seeing them shine, it's like I always say, once elite, you're always elite. Every agent, every person that has left the team, I make sure they understand that. Once they're elite.
Northwest, remember you all pulled me in? And you guys had all my elite swag that I would wear. Like I wore that mask, that orange mask, like every day to work.
Oh, you loved it too.
I loved it. I wore it every day. I'm like, see, aren't you just happy when you see this color? I love that. It's all subliminal. So let's talk about like the mind of a winner and an entrepreneur, because you started that at a very early age. Being an entrepreneur, I didn't know that about you. That at 6 you're out there door knocking.
Oh, girl, I was door knocking.
Yeah, I totally get it, and that was like in you. And all right. So that entrepreneurial spirit. I want to talk more about that entrepreneurial spirit. So you know, at 6 years old, you're already out there hustling. You feel like you learned that from kind of your dad and stuff, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody? Because when you have that natural, intuitive entrepreneurial spirit, like market changes, no problem, I'm going to find the next solution, right? And that's just the mindset you have. A lot of people don't have that. So what advice would you have for people that maybe aren't, because you've been in dark places before.
Yes.
You've been in really dark places before, and yet you come back out to the light and the bright light. So what advice would you give to people in general, because it's not just real estate agents that listen to this, just people, human beings? Like, what if somebody's not in the place they want to be, if they're not shining, if they don't feel bright and sparkly right now, and they're feeling dark and they feel like everything's kind of like, what advice, how did you get through that? Like, what do you recommend to people? What would you tell your earlier self, kind of thing?
You know, something I've learned in my journey of real estate was the power of reading. The power of books, the power of podcasts, the power of audibles. You know, if there's one piece of advice I can give someone, is lean towards your faith, whatever that faith is to you. To me, is God in the universe. I do practice yoga. I do practice my religion, but at the end of the day, is what brings your heart that ease that you need so you can keep going. And whether it's the faith being number one, and then number two, reading books that actually lift you. I was having a conversation with my daughter this morning about the power, and it came from her. We were driving to school, and she's like, hey mommy, you know, you can anything you think about, you can accomplish. I guess she saw me kind of like in a place where I was like, oh man, I have to figure some things out. But she's like, when you can imagine it and you see it, you can create it. I mean, this is a 10-year-old telling me this. Yeah. And usually I'm the one preaching it.
Exactly.
But hearing
living it.
But hearing it from her is more like, you know, and I went on to the story about my car. I always share the vehicle story, because at first I was like, how the heck am I gonna get this car, and how am I gonna make the payments to this car? I mean, it was a dream, but I knew I saw myself in it. I knew it with my heart, that's what I wanted. And I remember doing the steps. I looked up the car, I test drove it, and I knew I was gonna get it. I ordered the car. I mean, it was
all the things, yeah.
And then the car arrives, and I start hyperventilating. I'm like, the monthly payments are gonna be what? And then I'm like, you know, God always lines up things so it works in your favor. So the power of like you having the clarity of what you want is magical.
Yeah.
And I'm actually reading a book. I mean, I've read a lot of books, but this one in particular, I don't know if you've read it. Actually, I'm curious to know if you've read it. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
No, I haven't.
This is a great one.
Okay.
I would.
Yeah, for those watching, there it is.
The
There.
power of
Your subconscious mind. Yeah.
And actually, my friend Lisandra recommended it to me this weekend, and I'm like, you know what? Let me download it. It is very mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I've read a lot of books, but this one I really am enjoying a lot. I've actually bought the book, like the paper copy, because that's another thing. When I really enjoy a book, not only do I get the Audible, I get the
and exactly, because I know you're an Audible person.
Yes,
Exactly.
I go back
so
and make
feeding
notes.
your mind, that goes back to like feeding your mind. What are you listening to? What are you reading? Like all those things, because you know, if you start feeling off, and it comes back to how we started the conversation, which is E to P. Like if you're feeling in a funk, if you feel like, man, I am not in alignment with myself, it is not vibing, because then there's other times you're like, woo, if I could just replicate the day, like everything is going my way. Everybody wants to come work with me, and my energy's vibing and all the things. You pay attention to both, because what are you doing in that time? And all those great things that happen to us in life, it never was just that day.
Yeah.
It was all the things, all the work, all the books you listened to or read, or the things, the journaling you did, the meditating, the taking care of yourself, the listening and learning from other really successful people. That's exactly why I do this podcast, is to get these kind of stories out there. Is you're feeding your brain. So if you're feeling off on that, I noticed myself, honestly, about 2 months ago, I was like, you know, I'm not listening to podcasts like I usually do. I'm not reading the books that I normally do. I got off of that. And I'm like, why? It was just a habit. I don't know. I was like, I read enough for the year.
No.
I read so much. And I realized I was really missing it. And I started doing all the thing. And now it's like I'm looking at my life going, man, there is so much good in my life right now.
Amen.
So much good in my life. And it's all been from all the work and the heartache that I've been through, but yet I come out the other side, and that's how I see you. So a lot of times when I look at you, I feel like I'm looking in the mirror, because you and I have had similar journeys the past couple years.
And you're able to hold on to my hand and be like, hey, let's walk out of here. You're not alone. And
together. Yeah. And there's always people. So find your people. So if you're not feeling that, I love that you said that as a thing. Is what books are you reading? Okay. Another question I have for you before we run out of time. Just a couple more. What are you most excited about in your future for Julie?
I am really excited about what I'm looking to accomplish for 2024, and not only mentally, but physically and emotionally. Like I do believe my emotional well-being has been tested and has been going through some growths, and I want to implement all of them into my next chapter of life, which is, I mean, I'm really big about health and fitness. I do believe that it all starts there, but you